Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rich Seiler. I am with the DAC Data Analytics Company, and I'm so excited to share our findings with you today. We went ahead and did a deep dive into some of the data that we came across as it relates to the influenza season over the years 2009 to 2017. And we're going to go ahead and use that data to help us prepare for the 2018 influenza season. And so we had a motivation where the United States, they've got an influenza season. More people than usual are suffering from the flu. Some people, particularly those in vulnerable populations, are developing these serious complications and they end up in the hospital. Hospitals and clinics need additional staff to adequately treat these extra patients. And so the Medical Staffing Agency provides this temporary staff. And our objective is to determine when to send staff, how many, and specifically to which states. And for the scope of this project, the agency covers all hospitals in each of the 50 states of the United States, and the project will plan for the upcoming 2018 influenza season. And so our research hypothesis going into this was that if a person is over the age of 65, then they are at an increased risk of dying from the influenza season. Let's go ahead and take a look at the data and see what we came up with. So the first thing we noticed is that when looking at the data, there were some trends here. And we noticed that once we compiled all of the data together, we noticed that January, March, February, and December was kind of that flu season. You hear people talking about the flu season, but it's hard to know when is the flu season. Well, we were really able to kind of drill down on that, and we identified December, January, February, and March, those 4 months, as really being kind of the peak season when it comes to influenza. But you'll notice here we still have a large number of influenza data coming in from April, November, and May and October. So it's really kind of spread out. But really there was a spike when it came to December, January, February, and March. So we found this to be very eye-opening. It kind of gave us an idea of if we're working with a temporary staffing agency that can only give us temporary work throughout the year. It's not going to be 12-month employees, but only a short-term. This was the area we really wanted to focus on was December, January, February, and March. And then kind of prepare for that in some of the months where it's not as impactful. That could be the months of August, September, October, November, those 4 months leading into the spike, using that opportunity to be able to get our resources in place, get the education out there to the people that need it. So once we figured out when is the influenza season, the next question becomes, which states have been impacted the most by influenza? And you'll take a look at this map here, and in the darker colors is where we're going to have a bigger impact. Again, we're looking at data from 2009 to 2017. And we had a large number of influenza deaths taking place in California and New York being our top two. Right behind that, we had Texas, we've got Pennsylvania, we've got Florida as kind of being our top five. But really the big two that really stand out is going to be California with 47,483 during that period of time. And these are specifically deaths from people that were age 65 and older. And then if we go over here to New York, we had 36,576 deaths that were in the state of New York. So we're noticing that higher populated states are having more influenza deaths. But you could take a look at neighboring states. Going back to California, a neighboring state could be Nevada, and only having 2,956 deaths over that same period of time. So it's very much related to a larger state having more influenza deaths, and we felt like if we can send those resources to those larger states, those more populated states, we could try to minimize the number of deaths that are going to impact that area. And so now that we know when is the influenza season, we can identify which states are hit the hardest. We're identifying what is the age group that we need to target. And man, the data really spoke to us here. Looking at that period of time, 2009 to 2017, again, it's that age 65 and older. We're just seeing a large number of deaths. We've got 53,446 deaths from 65, people age 65 to 74. That number more than doubles once you get to 75 to 84. And then it almost doubles again going for people that are 85 and older. So this is a very, very vulnerable group. And we felt like getting these people vaccinated, giving them a chance to be able to fight this flu is going to give them the best chance to be able to do that. So, 90% of our data approximately is coming from this 65 and older demographic. And so, going back to the states that we see the map here, this is specifically focusing on those age 65 and older and, age 65 and older. So what we're noticing right here in our bar graph, everything is 65 and older. And so for our summary, the following is a list of recommendations to meet the goals of helping a medical staffing agency, to, providing temporary workers. And so what we said is, number one, focus on preparations 3 to 4 months prior to that peak influenza season. We're thinking about August, September, October, November. This is the time to be, getting our resources mobilized, making those phone calls, getting our resources in place so that we are ready to go once the peak hits. And number two, mobilizing a team of workers in our 2 most impacted states. We're looking at California and New York. They are heavily populated, but at the same time, it's just so many influenza deaths. There's such a need there. And so we really need to be targeting those 2 areas. Number 3, hire a team of temporary workers for the months of December, January, February, and March. Those are the 4 most important months. It's that winter time, and it's our peak influenza season. This is what we really need to be focusing on. And number 4, focusing on our elderly population. 90% of those influenza deaths are coming from, people that are age 65 and older. So let's get those resources in their hands August, September, October, November, that they are getting that influenza shot, that they stand a chance to be able to fight this. Now, there are some limitations here. While the data has given us an age group to focus on, states with a history of need and months when influenza has historically been bad, there are other factors that we need to consider here, such as the effectiveness of this vaccine and other factors that may not have been addressed at this time. So we're going to continue to analyze the data as it comes in and make the best preparations possible. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to working with you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.